And welcome into the Concord TV studio for another episode of Community Conversations. And I had to bring in one of my favorite people here in Concord to talk all about the great things, not just at the Chamber of Commerce, but we're specifically talking about the Concord Young Professionals Network. Emily, welcome into the cold Concord TV studio. I know, good thing you wore a sweater.
A cozy sweater.
A cozy sweater. I wore my cozy sweater as well. But thanks for coming in, and I know it's been really busy for you guys. The week that we're recording this, you guys have had so much going on. But it's Friday, so you've reached the end of it.
Yeah, it's Friday, and I get to come to Concord TV.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
Come back every Friday. Yeah. So for those people who don't know about Concord Young Professional Network and CYPN, tell us just real quick about how it works, because it's not like some board of directors. It's how does it work CYPN compared to the relationship with the chamber?
Yeah, that's a great question because so many people ask it, as you said. Yeah. So I am an employee of the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce, and the Concord Young Professionals Network is one of our programs. Yeah. So it's underneath our umbrella of our organization, but we have a lot of committees as part of the chamber, and this is one of them. So it's run by volunteers. It's self-directed, which is really great because it's actually run by young professionals in the community. We vote on officers, so people come in and out of the program. And another great thing to know about CYPN, or Concord Young Professionals Network, is you don't have to join CYPN. You can just be a part of it anytime. There's no kind of official, you don't have to be a member of the chamber or sign up for something in particular. It's really open to everyone. So the goal of it, it was created with the mindset of supporting young professionals, because we all know it's literally the next generation of everyone who's going to be running all the businesses in Concord.
And it's tough being a young person just in general, especially on the professional side of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's tough if you've just moved to Concord,
yep,
or you've maybe started a new job, or you're looking to start a new job or change your career, or for whatever reason, or even just make friends. It's tough to make friends when you're suddenly an adult. So it serves so many great purposes. I've even heard people who find apartments through CYPN, or they find roommates. It's got so many great benefits that are just too many to name. But it's basically a way for young people to come together.
And I'm biased. I have to mention that I'm on the steering committee for the Young Professionals Network. So I am a little bit biased in saying it's a great program, really fun events. We just had one Wednesday at Brothers Cortado, which Chuck and Ian were really gracious to host us there. It was 70 people who showed up.
Yeah, it was a lot of people.
And which is, I do want to point out, I'm naturally an introvert. I think you are too, Emily, probably.
Yeah.
That when you walk into this, even knowing a bunch of people, but you go in, networking events can be stressful and can be tough. But CYPN does a great job of making sure that new people feel welcomed. I met a ton of people who it was their first event, first time going, or maybe second event, and they said, "Oh, I am still trying to get my feet wet and get to know people." And just the connections you make. Like you mentioned, it can be you can find personal connection and make friends, or find an apartment, or find roommates, but business connections that, for Concord TV, I've had a chance to meet people who either want to do their own show here in the studio, or want to collaborate as a nonprofit. So it's been such a blast to be part of it, and I love being on the steering committee. Yeah. I'm not just saying that because the cameras are rolling.
No, I know you love being part of the steering committee because you've been coming to CYPN events for years. And I think you make a good point, and networking is intimidating, but I know when I go to a CYPN event, it doesn't feel like the, "Hi, what's your name and where do you work?" type networking experience. It feels a lot just very genuine, and how I explain it to people is you may not talk about where you work as the first thing. You might talk about what was the last movie that you saw. So it's just kind of a way to break the ice. It's pretty accessible to people, and you can set your own limits for your own networking experience. If it's your first event and you want to pop in for 20 minutes and then head out, that's totally up to you. You're probably going to meet some great people. And it's, and we pick cozy locations like Brothers Cortado, and other great community
We did
spots.
berry picking over at Apple Hill Farm,
Yep,
I think.
Yep. And then you have like an
yeah.
activity, so it makes it a little easier to
Yep.
get to know people, and yeah.
So what, you had brought this up, I'm actually off script already. What, do you remember one of your first SIPN events or one of your favorite ones?
Yeah, so we were talking and I was trying to remember what it was. I think it was at the UNH Franklin Pierce Law School.
Okay.
Back in like 2018.
So where would they do it? Just in like the kind of when you walk in, like the big lobby?
Yeah,
area?
with the big glass windows.
Yep.
And I remember going on a tour, and I remember that I was working at Red River Theaters at the time. So
Yep.
Angie Lane encouraged me to go and try it out, and I was pretty nervous, and I thought, what if I don't meet anyone at all? And I met a lot of really cool people that night, and it just felt like very easy and pretty relaxed. I honestly had just a great time. So
Yeah, I honestly don't remember my first SIPN event. I'll be honest, I don't remember. But I mentioned the berry picking. That was like one of the best because meeting some new people, but also seeing friends and then having this activity, and it just like in terms of breaking the ice, having sometimes SIPN events where there's that activity.
Yeah.
Is different than when you're just standing around, which
Yeah.
I love standing around. I stand around all the time. But SIPN does a great job, and the event coordinators do a great job of finding different venues and different activities. The ice cream event at Social Club Creamery was really fun. That worked out really well.
Ice cream makes everyone feel better, right?
Yeah. You know what my break the ice for that event was? Do you know what it was? That I got the fried pickle ice cream, and everybody was asking me if I was crazy, not cozy, but crazy, eating the fried pickle ice cream, which was delicious. But that was a great like conversation starter.
Absolutely.
Perfect for small talk.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Was that the event that also was at Homebody?
Yep, it was the collaborative event.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was so awesome. There were the little gift bags for people. Yeah. It was amazing. And so many people who had never been to Homebody before or had never been to Social Club Creamery before got to try them out.
Yeah, and also a lot of first-time SIPN participants, because if they see ice cream, they're all over it.
Exactly.
Yep. And so SIPN is like just a great, I like business after hours, and I was actually just at business after hours on Tuesday, and a lot of really good connections, but it is a different environment, and both have their strengths. And so I'll talk up business after hours, go to that too. That's once a month, usually Tuesday nights, I think, right?
Yes. It's usually significantly more people. So you talked about like 70 people at Brothers Cortado the other night. Usually SIPN's more around 50, so that was a little bit.
That was a really good turnout.
It was a very busy event.
Yeah.
Business after hours is usually 100 people and up. Our January event was a little quieter after the holidays, but we can have 120, 30, even 150 people.
So when the chamber's planning business after hours, you're looking for venues that are a larger space that can accommodate that. Where with SIPN, it's more, you need kind of mid-sized venues. And I've been part of those discussions where we've talked about, can such and such place hold a SIPN event type of crowd? So one thing that really helps, I know from the steering committee side, is people signing up in advance. It's free, but we like having a head count. We have had people walk in and we can write their name tag, in Sharpie marker, but it helps for planning the event to know how many people we have. So how can folks sign up for the event?
Yeah, so the best place is to go to the chamber website, which is ConcordNHchamber.com. But you can also find all of that info on the on SIPN's social media pages. So I'd say Facebook and Instagram are the go-to ones. They're easy to find.
Search Concord Young
LinkedIn,
Professional Network.
Yeah, exactly. I know the Instagram one is just CYPN.
Easy.
And then you can get all the links to the events, sign up for them. Some of them get busy, so we have to put caps on them. So it is really good to sign up in advance and make sure you can get to them, especially if it's like an additional event, like a workshop or something. We have a workshop on Tuesday that's full and has a waiting list. So we
not really taking walk-ins.
Yeah, we wouldn't want you to show up and then we have to be like, oh, I'm really sorry, there's no seat. So
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you can sign up on the chamber website we're chamber members, so I always I'm signed into our account, but
Yeah.
you can do it without signing into a chamber account, or
Yeah,
do you,
yeah. We have set up all of the SIPN events so that they are free. So if you've never been to an event with the chamber before, it's completely fine. All you input is first name, last name, email address. And the email address is just so we can send you your reminder. And if we need to, follow up after the event. Another great thing about signing up in advance is I always send out the list of everyone who's going to the event before the event happens. So you can look at it and think, oh, I know that person, or this is someone I'd really like to meet. It's just really fun to have that. So if you do get on that list early, everyone can see that you're on the list, which is really great.
Yeah, so that just makes the networking even easier.
Yeah, exactly.
So another thing about CYPN, which is great, is the YP of the month, which Young Professional of the Month, where as a steering committee they decide who YP of the month is. I believe this month it was Janelle Drake, is that right?
Yeah.
Who was recognized at the CYPN event on Wednesday night. And so how can folks, if they know of a young professional that they want to nominate for YP of the month, how do they do that?
Yeah, so that is similar answer. CYPN social media channel have info on that. Our Instagram has a link tree which has a button just for submitting nominations. But if you also go to concordnhchamber.com/CYPN, that's where you can see all the CYPN information, who's been YP of the month in the past, how you can submit nominations, nominations for YP of the year when they open up.
Which is announced at
the Chamber's Pinnacle
Chamber
Awards.
Pinnacle Awards, YP of the year.
Yeah, so that's really exciting too. Yeah.
Yep.
But we've had some amazing YPs of the month. It's just so cool to see all the people in Concord. And Janelle has been part of CYPN for a long time and helped. She's a co-founder of Affirming Spaces Project, her own nonprofit. So that's so inspiring.
Right.
Yeah.
To see that fellow young professionals start their own businesses
Yeah.
and have their own endeavors and are really ambitious people who make a difference in our community.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just honored to be amongst these really awesome people, because we could go through the list of all the different steering committee members. We won't, to not embarrass them, but so many awesome people from so many different sectors of Concord. I think sometimes people, and this is a long time thing, this isn't like a new stigma, but thinking about young people that, whether it's millennials or early Gen Z, that, young people in the workplace, at this point, a lot of millennials were like 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
Millennials are almost going to age out of being YPs.
We're kind of on the edge.
We're on the edge.
Well, because you just talked about YP of the month, when you read these profiles about young people in Concord, I feel like a lot of those stigmas just go out the window. You see how people are volunteering their time and how they're often working 2 different jobs, or they're doing something to support a family member, or they're really involved in some other community aspect. It's just really cool to get an actual picture of young people. And that's part of the point of it is, these awards are created to help spotlight young people, to kind of help people, everyone in the community understand who is here, and it brings to light some issues that a lot of young people face, which is like housing and childcare are really big ones. And those are issues that the chamber is, trying to share information on. We're constantly trying to spread the word about, show different perspectives on, and just being able to host a very vibrant YP network. I think it really helps, and it helps CYPN to be connected to the chamber, because the chamber can offer things like, hey, would you like to come to this event that's all about new housing projects in Concord and ask questions? It's really good opportunities. Being able to go to a CYPN event, if you're, in your 20s and you work with people who are not necessarily in your age demographic, to be able to talk with other people who are saying, I would really like to buy a house and I don't know how to do that, or how do I start saving money for that, and start to have those conversations, or people who are saying, it can be anything. It can be
personal finance. I know Mark is really good with that. But personal finance, even like wedding planning and things like
Yeah.
that. All the different like phases of life that we
Yep.
go through.
Those
Yeah.
are all conversations that happen at SIPN events. So, A, you feel less alone.
Yep.
if you realize there are other people who have these same challenges that they're talking about, and
Right.
also you can help each other. Like if someone says, "I found a wedding venue that was under $1,000. Here's the info for it," or "Hey, I know someone who's looking for a roommate, and you said you're looking
Yep.
for a roommate," stuff like that.
Especially stuff like roommates, which you've mentioned a couple times. Like it helps having a personal reference. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than like, and you do it if you have to, but the random
Yeah.
roommate that you meet just through
Just online.
an online like
Yeah.
a post, and you're kind of rolling the dice. Whereas if it's at least a friend of a friend where they go, they're a good person, here's what they're like, I'll introduce you. You guys can grab coffee and see if it's a good fit or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that happening at SIPN.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
But even things like one of our friends at SIPN offered to send me a spreadsheet with wedding venues. And I was like, that is really nice of you. That just
Yeah.
probably saves me like multiple hours
Of work. Yep.
of work. So for people who are kind of shy, like I mentioned introverts before, who they think this sounds great, they love the concept, but just going and meeting new people is terrifying. What would you say to them to kind of encourage them to check this out?
Yeah, so first off, we have SIPN ambassadors, and they are volunteers. They're, fellow young professionals that they really care about making sure that people have a good experience and they're feeling comfortable, and they do get to meet people at the event. So their job is to look out for people who are on the sidelines or maybe don't know anyone, and kind of pull them in and make sure they get to meet someone and have a good time at the event. So know when you come to an event that someone's got your back. They're out there, their job's to look for people and help them get acclimated. And then the second thing, like I mentioned before, is kind of set your own boundaries. So if you only go for a few minutes, and like I said, our next event at Gibson's bookstore is the perfect place. If you need to take a break, you go look at some books, wander around a bit, talk about books.
So maybe that's a good first place to go for a SIPN event.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of room in there. The bookstore it's huge, it's a huge space. So there's plenty to walk around and see. They have board games. It's going to be a really, really cool event.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And people can know that they're not going in and they're not just going to, people will want to talk to you and get to know you.
Yeah, that's why people are there.
And I would encourage people, this is my own personal opinion, to not go in with a goal of like trying to give out as many business cards as possible.
Yeah.
Like, not trying to hard sell anything. It's more of leaning on the personal, making friends and connections side. And organically you can make business connections, but to not go in with maybe like I'm gonna try to sell my brand or my product, because when you get to know people, that'll come out and you'll make those connections.
Absolutely.
And it makes it feel more organic and you're not feeling that pressure. Right?
Yeah. The people that I've seen really thrive in SIPN kind of put themselves first.
Yep.
And they meet people in a really genuine way, and then I see just like amazing growth that comes out of those relationships.
Right. Before the show, we won't go into as much detail here, but we were before the show talking about the professional versus personal brand, and depending on what business you're in, I mean, my role here at Concord TV, certainly yours at the Chamber, that it all connects in a way, but that there is a difference sometimes between, the hard sell of like the organization I work for and sometimes just your own personal brand.
Yeah.
So SIPN seems like, leaning more towards the personal brand, but certainly, you can also be there talking about your business or your organization. A lot of entrepreneurs show up at SIPN events too, which is really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of people have cool side hustles. Like you'll meet people who, their day job is at, whatever business, and then they say, well, but I also do graphic design, or
the person who does upholstery, I can't remember her name, but she does her own upholstery, which I thought was the coolest thing.
Or people do carpentry, or they
separate Instagram pages.
Yeah, pottery, all kinds of things. They're just so many cool people doing amazing stuff in Concord. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So Emily, this I think we've used up most of our studio time here in the cozy, cold studio here. But again, for folks, just to remind you, Concord Young Professionals Network, upcoming event February 19th, depending when you are listening or watching this episode. If you're watching past February 19th, keep an eye out every month for upcoming SIPN events and other chamber events at concordnhchamber.com.